Grill, and absolutely welcome back to 2022 from a wet and actually sunny South Africa today. So you'll see the title of this video, Stop Preparing. So why in the heck would a prepping channel tell you to stop prepping? Now, what we do as preppers, we try and perceive what will happen next. And how we do this is we look at the current political, financial situation in your country or in the world, and we try and make a summary of what the near future will look like. So, what the impact will be of a certain scenario that might unfold in your country or in the world. And as you all know, the world is in absolute chaos. Um, One thing that is, or a couple of things that are standing out above the rest is definitely the energy crisis. Now, the energy crisis, it seems, are manufactured by the higher hands that is controlling most things in the world. And then food. It seems like we've been following, as farmers, we've been following how they monopolized seeds the last, well, I've been personally following it for the last, let's call it 15, 20 years. But they've actually been monopolizing the seeds and the production of food for far longer than what I've personally been following it. So, natural disasters. So, one thing that is of absolute great concern to me is that there's definitely, and I can today put money on it, that there will be a food crisis on hand. The world will see one massive food crisis and it will stun people. And the reason why I'm saying that you need to stop preparing is that once you've reached a certain point of, let's say, 3 months or 6 months, there's a specific prepping channel that brags about having food stored up for up to 5 years. Once you get to a point where you can sustain yourself in the short term with your prepping supplies, with your prepping pantry, there's two things that you, or a couple of things that you need to consider. One is, will you be able to keep that 5 years of supply safe? Will you be able to survive in your house while the hordes are outside looking for food and you've got 5 years of food stored up in your house? Will you really be able to defend your position or your home in a city where everybody is desperate for resources? I highly doubt that. And that is why we say you need to stop prepping and you actually need to get a point where you start growing. There is a massive seed shortage coming to South Africa specifically because of all the floods we had. We've got thousands upon thousands of hectares that were destroyed the last, let's call it, 2 months because of all of the flooding and all of the rains. And on top of that, we have got definitely a supply chain issue. The fuel prices in South Africa, like the rest of the world, has shot through the roof. And this has a major impact on food production. If you look at the current food prices in South Africa, and you've been following it like we have been following it, you'll understand that your person that gets a grant in South Africa from the government, he won't be able to buy or even sustain his family in the next 6 months to 12 months with that grant money. It is just not enough. And we know in South Africa, when people get hungry, they start to loot, they start to burn, they start to literally destroy infrastructure to get hold of resources. That is how desperate people will become in the world. So some advice for you today is that if you have reached, let's say, about 6 months worth of preparation, And if you've already got 12 months plus, you're in a very fortunate position. You need to make alternative arrangements. Firstly, to bug out. You're not going to stay in your city. I promise you that. You are not going to defend your house from marauders. People that are hungry are not going to come to your house, one person or two persons. They're going to come in a band of, or a gang of 10 to 20 people. They're going to shove you out of your house. They're most probably going to beat you up and kill you. And then they're going to take whatever they need. So firstly, you need a bug out strategy. Now, we're very fortunate. We belong to a huge prepping community where every individual has got skills and knowledge. We've got a set area that we have made contact with the local people, by which we can go and try and continue with normal food production like it used to be. So you need to find a bug out location and you need to go build that relationships this year. Rather take your prepping money, get into your car and go build a relationship, because you are going to need to bug out somewhere. And then the second thing is you need to up your skills when it comes to food production. You need to be able to plant a tomato and a spinach and a potato and raise a pumpkin, because the food shortages are coming. You need to buy heirloom seeds so you can plant. You need to understand how plants work and function. You need to understand what a plant needs to grow. And you need to understand the pesticide and the pest section of planting as well. Even if you decide to focus on 3 or 4 vegetables, you need to be able to produce food. Your prepping supplies is only going to last you that long. That's the reality. If you have a vehicle like I'm sitting in now, this is a 1-ton 4x4, okay? If I have to put in all my dogs and the wife and the kids, I can approximately transport around about 500 to 600 kgs of extra food, okay, in order for us to bug out. That could possibly last us up to 6 months, okay? We're not going to eat very nicely. Our stomachs are going to be full. It's going to be tasty. It's going to be sufficient to carry us. But after that, you will need to make a plan. So what happens during a collapse? Number 1, normally the power goes out. Number 2, normally the communication, your YouTube and your internet and your cell phone reception, those towers will go out. You'll have a massive problem with water. There will be no food distribution, so there will be a food problem. So those are the key elements of prepping. Forget about the fancy things. 10 different flashlights and 10 different types of matches and 10 different types of tarps. Those things are fancy. Guys, you need to eat. In 2020, we saw people rushing to go buy toilet paper. You can't eat fucking toilet paper. You need food. You need something. The toilet paper comes after. After you've eaten, you poop it out. Then you use the toilet paper. I was amazed when I saw people rushing to go buy toilet paper. And I'm like, buddy, what the hell are you? Go buy food. You need to poop. Go fill up your stomach. Don't worry about pooping. You can clean it with water. Guys, if you get to a certain point of about 6 months, you need to stop preparing and you need to start preparing to plant and produce your own food. Okay, to raise meat, chickens, and pork, and beef, and sheep is a total different thing. That's a certain skill set that the person does need. But you have to get to a point where you can actually, after your prepping supplies are finished, or they've been stolen, or they've been looted, you should be able to produce food for your family. And believe me, coming from a farmer, to produce food is fairly difficult. It is not an easy task. It is very complicated, but it is doable. If you play at home, even if you plant in pots at this stage, you need to teach yourself how to actually survive once the prepping supplies are finished. This is South African Prepper. Please like, share and subscribe. And thank you very much for all of the subscribers in the last 4 to 5 months. You guys are absolutely fantastic. God bless, South African Prepper.